John likes tech and lives in Indiana, you know. Kevin likes the Dodgers and talks on the radio. John plays games on Xbox and on his Nintendo, while Kevin runs around LA with his mustachio. It's the Lack of Genius podcast, in your ear holes at last. They don't know they're Mars from Venus, that's why it's the Lack of Genius podcast. All right, well, this is unlike anything we've ever done before, John.
It's true, it is.
And you know what I thought about? Okay, let's get it out of the way. We're literally sitting in the bleachers at Wrigley Field right now. Hopefully you hear organs. Hopefully you hear people chattering. Maybe you'll hear a fight break out soon. So here's what I was realizing, John, is that this is technically our first podcast in front of a live audience.
That's true, but I have no idea.
The audience just doesn't know that they're here witnessing it. Okay, so I just want to point out, here's what we're going to do. We're going to quiz each other, but we're also going to talk about things that we're seeing. In fact, there's a guy down to your left, John, who looks like you.
I can see that before I got a haircut.
Yeah, so John got a haircut. John used to have long hair. Now he has short hair, but he's still got there's a guy with a bushy beard rocking a Cubs hat. And I'm gonna have too many beers, and I'm gonna go up and I'm gonna hug him, thinking it's you. So, all right. So I don't think this is gonna be like normal episodes. We're not gonna do a tidy up. I think what we're gonna do is just start quizzing each other, and as things happen, we'll talk about it. But John, what did you prepare a quiz on?
The Cubs.
The team, the baseball team, the Chicago Cubs. That's who's playing today. By the way, I don't know that I said this. Dodgers and Cubs playing at Wrigley Field today. That's why I'm here. That's why I came here, because the Dodgers are in town. Clayton Kershaw's pitching today, who, if you don't know who that is, I don't want to know you. I want nothing to do with you. I did a quiz just on Wrigley Field in general. So I've looked up the history of Wrigley a bit. Okay, John, hit me with a question about the Cubs, John.
So, what year did the Cubs start? 1976, 1890, 1898, or 1903.
Okay, 1876, 1890, 1896, 1898,
1903.
I feel like I should know this. Wow, did they start before the 1900s is the 20th century? Did they start before? Do you like that, John? I'm going to play a ding, ding, ding sound effect right there, in fact. God, 1903 was, I believe, a World Series year for them. I think that's why that's standing out. I am going to go, John, I'm going to go with 1890. That was a choice, right?
It was, yes.
Okay, I'm going to go with it, and now you can tell me if it was the correct choice.
It was the incorrect.
Oh, dang it. I added that buzzer sound effect in post-production.
1876. But it did not start off as the Cubs.
I thought maybe not.
That was the White Stockings.
So the Chicago Cubs organization started as the Chicago White Stockings. Wow. I'd like to point out, John, that you are not wearing white stockings. In fact, you're not wearing socks at all.
Why would I? It's going to be in the 50s.
See, now I feel pretty good right now because we were just on a hot metro, but I'm like highs in the 50s. I'm a cold boy, whereas John is in shorts and sandals, and I brought a thermal and a jacket. All right, so I'm 0 for 1 to start. Is that right? All right, let's see how well you know Wrigley, shall we? All right, so here's a brief history lesson. The former Cubs president, William Veeck, I believe it's pronounced, William Veeck, he added ivy to the outfield walls of Wrigley in 1937. That's an iconic part of Wrigley. It's a brick wall with ivy. Right now the ivy's brown because it's not in season yet, but in the summer it'll be flush with green ivy. So 1937 is when the ivy was added. Which of the following was the inspiration for doing so? This was William Veeck, the president of the Cubs. What was his inspiration for planting the ivy? Is it A, it reminded him of his childhood home? B, his mother thought it might look nice? C, he saw it at another stadium and liked it? Or D, ivy was already infesting parts of the wall, so he just made it official?
I feel like it's either C or D.
C being he saw it at another stadium and liked it, and D was that ivy was already infesting the walls.
I've gone to C.
C, he saw it at another stadium and liked it.
Yep.
I just played a ding, ding, ding sound effect, John. It was actually closer to your home. It was a field in Indianapolis. It was called Perry Stadium. But in Vec's autobiography, he said, since I had always admired the ivy-covered walls at Perry Stadium in Indianapolis, I suggested we appropriate the idea for ourselves, and obviously Wrigley became the iconic version of that, and there we go. So this is why you're allowed to steal ideas. You really are. I have no problem with that. He got inspiration from another stadium, went for it, and now we're getting to see Ivy Vines in the flesh. John, you're doing great. You're 1 for 1.
You're 0 for 1, and I got true or false for you.
Okay, yes.
True or false? The Cubs were the first organization to play in 3 consecutive World Series.
Wow, John. Okay, so 3 consecutive meaning back-to-back years to play in 3 consecutive. I have a feeling, let me talk through this, but I have a feeling this is true because I think before the Cubs went on their crazy long drought, I think they were pretty frequent visitors of the World Series. So I'm gonna say true. Let's just see what it is.
It is true, and if you look at the flags, you can see it. You got 1906, 1907, 1908.
Oh yeah, okay, yes. John using visual aids. So our view from the bleachers is looking at I guess what it would be, the grandstands? I don't know. But up on the top of the awning, there's all these flags, and each one has a different year. So those are years that they made or won. They won the pennant. Yeah, 1906, 1907, 1908, 1910. They missed 1909. Can you believe it? And if we look up on the left side of the awning, we see they have a 2020 flag, 2018, because they did make the playoffs those years. But there's the 2016 one, and I'm looking for. Oh, and there's the world champion one behind us. Wow, it's like a rich dark blue, like a dark blue with red. It looks very good. I was very happy when the Cubs won. All right, John, great job to me. Let's see. Oh, I got a true false for you too, John. This is so cool because just right now I patted John on the arm like, hey, I got a true false for you because we're in person and we can actually touch each other's flesh. True or false? Wrigley Field in Chicago, where we're at right now, is the only Wrigley Field to ever host a Major League Baseball game. Is that true or is that false? There's Clayton Kershaw in front of me doing his stretches. Oh my God, I'm geeking out like a teenage girl right now. No offense to teenage girls. Teenage girls are allowed to freak out. It's an admirable quality of theirs. Gonna say true. This was, you're saying that Wrigley Field in Chicago is the only Wrigley Field to ever host a baseball game, a Major League Baseball game. True. That is incorrect. There was another Wrigley Field in Los Angeles. We stole Wrigley Field, named after the same dude that this Wrigley Field is named after, the gum pioneer, the gum mogul. Wrigley Field in LA no longer exists, but the Los Angeles Angels, now known as the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, they played their inaugural season at Wrigley Field, 1960, and then it was torn down in 1969, 9 years later. And the Angels bounced around. They even played at Dodger Stadium for a little bit. There's Clayton Kershaw doing his warm-up jog. Oh my gosh! I have a memory. So I don't remember the exact situation, but I believe 2016, the year that the Cubs won the World Series, Clayton Kershaw pitched here, and he got rocked. Meaning he gave up a bunch of home runs and a bunch of runs, and it was the saddest day of my life. And so I'm hoping we don't see a repeat of that today. Clayton Kershaw is a legend and having a resurgent year this year so far, and is probably this is no exaggeration, and this is no small feat. Probably my favorite Dodger of all time. I'm also wearing a Mike Piazza jersey. He's one of my favorites. Hideo Nomo's up there. Sean Green, if you know the Dodgers. But Clayton Kershaw he just epitomizes the Dodgers. And I can't even tell you how over the moon I am that he's pitching today. Okay, so John's recording actually accidentally stopped. This is what happens when you try to do a podcast in the bleachers of Wrigley Field. As there's a bear. Oh, you know what? In fact, it's a baby bear. You know what they call baby bears, John? Cubs. That wasn't a question for the quiz, by the way. There's a cub hitting balls into the left field bleachers. I bet you he's going to come over here and it's going to be nuts.
Okay, you ready for
next question? Yeah, let's do it.
So you were just talking about the mascot out there.
Yes.
Do you know his name?
Oh, I do not, but I bet I get options.
You do. Ernie,
Sam,
Cubby,
Cubby.
or Clark.
What's the last one? Just Cub?
Clark.
Clark. All right, Ernie. Oh man, I think that the dude pitching him just may have given me the answer. Let me think through this though. Ernie would make me think of Ernie Banks.
Right.
There was Ernie, there was, what was the second choice? Sam, there was Cubby, and there was Clark. Now here's what I'm going to be honest about. I think I was going to choose Ernie, but now that I've seen the guy, I'm pretty sure the back of his jersey says Clark's Cub or something like that. Oh, he just hit that thing good, by the way. So and I just heard the guy behind me say Clark's been doing nothing but hitting home runs to center. So I'm getting fed the answer. I was going to choose Ernie though, so I'm not going to give myself credit. But let's make it official. I'm choosing Ernie, John.
It is Clark. If you had paid attention to the screen when we first got here, they had his name up on it too.
John, you know I don't pay attention to anything. You know better than this. Austin Barnes, who is the Los Angeles Dodgers catcher, he's warming up right in front of us. That's why you hear a gentleman yelling Austin right now. All right, John, let's wrap this quiz up, shall we? Wait, what is it? What are we now? Technically, we got so thrown off. Oh, I got an idea, by the way, John. So, as we're recording, it doesn't matter who wins or loses. As we're recording this podcast, I'm opening up Instagram. I'm narrating this to our podcast listeners, and I'm turning the camera around to us. And all right, so we're now speaking to Instagram stories. Hi, John. We're literally recording our podcast right now from the outfield. And you'll hear this. You'll literally hear this part in the podcast when you listen. You'll be like, I was there on Instagram when it happened.
It's true.
And let's make sure that didn't stop my recording. It didn't. All right, John, here we go. Let's see how you do on this last question here. Other than the Chicago Bears, who are the NFL team from Chicago, which NFL organization once played their home games here at Wrigley Field? So the Bears did. What other organization from the NFL did? Is it the Green Bay Packers, the Los Angeles Rams, the Minnesota Vikings, or the Arizona Cardinals?
So we got Cardinals, Packers,
Rams, or Vikings. A is Packers, B is Rams, C is Vikings, D is Cardinals.
I'm going with Packers.
Green Bay Packers. You locking it in?
Yep.
John, that's incorrect. It's one you probably wouldn't expect. It was the Arizona Cardinals. I did not know this. They used to be the Chicago Cardinals. And then they moved to St. Louis, became the St. Louis Cardinals of football. Then they went to Phoenix. They were called the Phoenix Cardinals for a little bit, and now they're the Arizona Cardinals. It's just so weird because, like, the Arizona Cardinals I don't think of as, like, a historic franchise. They play their games at Wrigley Field. That's just so weird to me. So, there you go, John. I have no idea who won that quiz. And to be honest, I think it's cool that we were able to learn something about Wrigley and the Cubs. But this is more about our experience here. The crowds are filling in right now. It's starting to get rowdy. I think I need a beer. And there's Clayton Kershaw sprinting. John, here's what I'm thinking. We'll more or less wrap up the podcast here, but if something cool happens, we might pop back on. Thanks for supporting us on our journey. John, you got any closing words?
No Cubs.
Oh, I knew it. I gave him that opportunity. Go Dodgers, go. All right, so John and I it's post-game now.
It is post-game.
We're walking through an enormous crowd of people right now. Mostly Cubs fans. The Dodgers won 7-0.
Yeah.
It was a big Dodger win, but Cubs fans are resilient. We're crossing a street, so if you hear me, if you hear either of us really do ooh, it means we got hit by a car. Okay? So, John, we spent most of the game in the bleachers. You got any highlights you want to share? What stood out to you about today's game?
You were close to getting us kicked out.
You want to tell that story or you want me to? You let me tell it? So, my friend Casey McCabe just moved to Chicago. He used to be on air with me in LA at AMP Radio. Now he's doing afternoons at 101.9 The Mix in Chicago. His co-host was at this game, and I told him it would be so funny if I just showed up with a beer and delivered it to her and her husband. And so, at the 7th inning, was that when we went?
Yeah.
The game went really fast, by the way. We said, we'll go in the 6th, and then the 6th flew by, and the next thing we knew, it was the 7th. We go down there. I tried to deliver this beer. She's literally right behind home plate. They were not having it, were they, John? They were, in fact, I mean, look, they were older. It was an older woman and an older man, and I understand they're doing their job, but they were pretty condescending to me. I was like, oh, I'm delivering this beer to a friend. And they're like, yeah, sure you are. Yeah, okay. Yeah, come with me. And they were pushing me. It was not good. I'm talking with a little bit of bitterness right now, but ultimately they were doing their job. I get it. Long story short, John, did we find her?
She found us.
She found us. She came out. We delivered the beer. What's the best part of the story about the beer, John, for them?
She gets it for free.
Her seats came with free beer. So I spent like $14 on a beer for essentially nothing. In fact, if Jenny is listening to this, you owe me a beer now, officially. Okay, so what else was going on at the game today?
Cubs lost big time.
Yeah, it was. They literally didn't even score a run. I swear I don't mean this like kind of like patronizingly, but John, you got to see what some people consider as one of the best pitchers of all time in the Dodgers, Clayton Kershaw, pitch an 8-inning shutout, which is pretty rare these days. And I'm not, look, if I wasn't a Dodger fan, I'd probably be a Cubs fan. So I'm really not trying to rub it into the Cubs' face, but at least there's something you can look back on when he's making his Hall of Fame speech in, 10 years or something, and be like, hey, I saw that guy throw a shutout. We saw a cup snake. What they just call them?
I don't know what they called it exactly.
It was basically empty beer cups, and they just stack them one on top of the other. If you follow us on Instagram. In fact, if you don't follow us on Instagram, this is the kind of content you're missing. You would see a cup snake that was at least 20 feet long.
Yeah, probably.
And then we were in the right field bleacher. You look out to the left field bleacher. There was one that basically went across the entire bleacher, like almost reached the field. Okay, John, so we also got first-timer certificates.
We did.
They literally, not only do they have the date of the game, they have our names on them. John Largent and Kevin Schatz, spelled correctly. We spilled no beer on them. And right now, you want to tell the people where we're walking to, John?
Giordano's. Even though the poll on Instagram said to do Gino's, Giordano's is only a half mile away versus a few miles away. So,
our initial plan was to hop on the L, not the Metro, and go somewhere closer to where my hotel is and get some pizza. But the environment down here is just so cool. I just said, John, man, I think we got to stay here. And so we found a half a mile deep dish pizza place. We're going to break. Apparently, we don't listen to our listeners, John.
Well, we listen, we just don't do it.
We don't do what they say. We had 100% votes for Gino's over Giordano's. But I'm sorry. We just have to do what makes sense for us. Oh, they're going to hate us, John. I feel like I could ramble for days right now about how exciting that was, how much I enjoyed that.
It was a lot of fun.
I don't have my emotions are so high right now that it's hard for me to wrap it up in a bundled package. But it's been a dream of mine to go to Wrigley Field. I grew up seeing that on my television, and it was so cool to share it with you, John.
It was fun.
I'm touching John's shoulders. I like to talk about when I'm touching John because we don't get to do that very often. The neighborhoods of Chicago we're walking through are beautiful, and like I said, I could go on forever, but what do you think? Should we wrap this thing up?
Yeah, it's probably good.
John, you're an excellent Wrigley Field partner.
You're only Wrigley Field partner.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. All right, well, we appreciate you for hanging out and listening to us and taking in our excitement.
It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. Thanks for the good times, John.
You too, Kevin.
It's the Lack of Genius podcast in your ear holes at last. They don't know they're Mars from Venus, that's why it's the Lack of Genius podcast.
Because we're in person and we can actually touch each other's flesh.